With all our hearts, we pray and ask, God bless Anambra, God bless the shining light that we bear. We're the only ones to make her brighter, the only ones to make her better, the only ones to make Anambra shine. With our sweat and blood, every breath of our lives, with trust in God, we will lift our homeland high.
Meditation and prayers to God through my ancestors for the communal well-being. It is a time for atonement for communal misdeeds and supplication for blessings and good fortune in the period ahead. I trust that all of you will join me in this spiritual journey for the well-being of my domain, of Anambra State, and Igbo, Nigeria, and indeed the whole world. 25 years, in some ways, may be considered small in the life of a state such as ours. But in other ways, much has happened that is worthy of thankfulness to God and celebration. Equally important is that such an occasion affords the opportunity to reflect on where we have come from and presently are as a basis for charting our future. That is what I will attempt in this presentation. But first, I must commend our state government under Chief Obi of Onitsha for conceiving the anniversary events with the same vision that he has brought to bear on governance in the state. He is indeed a leader made for the present times, and we pray that God will continue to guide and guide him. By our founding fathers was that the federal government derived its powers from the federative units, namely the regional governments that negotiated the Constitution. The basis of power in that arrangement were political and economic. At the political level, the leaders of the three main parties, namely the National Council of Nigerian Citizens, NCNC, the Northern People's Congress, NPC, and the Action Group, AG, in the persons of Ogbuefi Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, subsequently Owele Osuwa Anya Onitsha, and Sir Ahmadu Bello and Chief Obafemi Awolowo, underscored that federal principle by opting to lead their regional governments, which were the source of political power, and sending their lieutenants, namely Dr. K. Ongadiwe, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, and Chief S. Akintola, respectively, to lead the federal governments. So the state governments were superior at that time. At the economic level, The regional governments were the revenue collecting authorities and remitted the relevant quotas of the revenue to the federal government. The economic base of the country then was largely primary agricultural products and solid minerals, which originated fairly evenly in all the three regions. The outcome of the above arrangement was that the three regions subsequently formed with the creation of Midwest State or Midwest region, competed healthily in terms of productivity and export earnings, as well as the deployment of the proceeds to sustainable development. Such competitions were manifest in the areas of education, industry, infrastructure, etc. And cities like Lagos, Kano, Kaduna, Port Harcourt, Aba, and Enugu were emerging as major centers of development. Ndi Igbo did very well in that setting. At the start of the Civil War in 1966, Eastern Nigeria was ahead of all the other regions in overall economic development. That was true. Ndi Igbo had become leaders in education. Kenneth Dike and Eni Njoku were vice chancellors of the University of Ibadan and Lagos University, Iyoruba. In the public service, Francis Moke was the Secretary to Government, of course, NAE, and business, Ujuku, Matthias Ujuku, etc., etc., Real Badiwe, so on. And even the military, of course, with Iransi as the Commander-in-Chief. They had closed a whooping gap in human development and self-application, considering that the first university graduates of Igbo extraction, that's Nnamdi Azikiwe, emerged in the 1930s, whilst the Yorubas had produced university graduates since the 1880s. So the gap was closed very fast. That's why I'm so Igbo, when we come back to it. One shortcoming of the foregoing arrangement was that the major political parties soon became entrenched in their own regional bases, respectively, such that the country's political fault lines progressively became coincident with our ethnic, social, and religious divides, thereby setting the scene for the subsequent tension and determination of the true federal system in the hands of the armed forces in 1966. Indeed, the non-Nigerian Sir Olanihun Ajayi, who is still alive, argued with material evidence in his book, Nigeria, Africa's Failed Asset, that the country was designed by the British colonialists to be permanently controlled by a preferred section, or otherwise to fail. The military coup, which supplanted the democratically elected government of Sir Tafawa Balewa, triggered a series of events that culminated in the pogrom against the people of Eastern Nigeria, mainly Igbos in various parts of northern Nigeria. This, in turn, led to the retreat of the Igbos back to the Eastern Heartland, the proclamation of the independent state of Biafra, the Nigerian Civil War, which ended in 1970. Several measures which were taken by the military regimes through decrees and constitution making before, during, and subsequent to the Civil War set the scene for the political and economic development or undevelopment of the country since then. And here are some examples. Firstly, the military regime under Yakubu Gowon abrogated the federal constitution, affirmed the supremacy of the federal government over the regional government, and subsequently reconstituted the 4 regional governments into 12 states headed by military governors that were directly answerable to the Supreme Military Council, headed by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The concentration of power, political power, the federal government was naturally accompanied by the reversal of the erstwhile revenue arrangement. The ownership of mineral resources became centralized in the federal government, which in turn made revenue allocations to the states. The incursion of the armed forces into governance unfortunately coincided with the emergence of petroleum as a major export earner for the country. Driven by growing international demands and rising prices for the commodity. Indeed, this development led many observers and analysts to speculate that the discovery of petroleum deposits, predominantly in the then eastern Nigeria, eastern region, may have been a remote cause of the Civil War. Secondly, unfortunately also, the emergence of petroleum as a major export income earner has so far proven to be a curse rather than a blessing for the country. For instance, the easy rent from petroleum made the country to progressively abandon agriculture as a means of subsistence and export income and become net importers of food, particularly rice and wheat, and also industrial inputs, palm oil. We imported palm oil for our industries, whilst previously we exported palm oil. But also we imported endless, frivolous luxury items. Over time, the nation became consumption-driven instead of production-based. The country was generating income from petroleum much faster than could be sustainably deployed for development by the regime. It was quoted as saying that money was not a problem. The problem was how to spend it. Thirdly, of the eastern region, the appetite for new states and local government areas began to grow because the military regimes made the states and the local government areas the basis for federal allocation of revenue, amenities, public appointments, etc. So the post-war East Central states were the last to realize the game. Having initially resisted local government areas, 6 geopolitical zones in the federation became marginalized, with only 5 states and 7 in the northwest state, in the northwest zone, into the united country in their own self-image, in the self-image of that oligarchy, under their own permanent control, to the desiring Nigeria for their control. However, notwithstanding the inherent weaknesses and near bankruptcy of most of the existing 36 states, there remains a yearning cry for creation of more states solely for the purpose of revenue allocation from the federation account. In the present situation, the head of the federal government wields enormous powers over the nation's wealth, including budgetary allocations to the other arms of the government, namely the judiciary and the legislature. Fifthly, the worst impact of the military regimes was on the subsequent political culture of the country. We have our politicians here. The nation's political parties leading up to independence were founded on distinct ideologies. They presented well-articulated manifestos during general elections, which became the basis for their strategies and policies for governance. Unfortunately, the political culture since the end of the military regime has become predicated solely on the control of political power at the center. Abuja is the target. And of course, by implication, on the control of the petroleum wealth. Well, a monoculture or monoproduct economy. Therefore, the battle is all about control of petroleum resources. Capture the government, you hold the resources, you do whatever you want to do. As a consequence, the political parties jettisoned ideologies and manifestos, which are essential differentiating characteristics in democracy. Rather, they have become shifting coalitions for achieving sectional and personal interests, rather than the common good of the nation. Thus, political players now switch platforms and alliances at will, as long as they can find themselves within the corridors of power, with access to the peace of the fast diminishing national case. And finally, and these are the consequences of the military regime over several years, impunity in public life became rife. There have been cases and stories of monumental fraud, for example, regarding the police pension fund, fuel price subsidies, military procurement funds, etc., that have been endlessly prosecuted without people being convicted and jailed. We hear glaring news of high-profile arrests and endless investigations with hardly any convictions. Today, it has become crystal clear that the governance framework put in place by the military regimes were self-serving and were doomed to fail. A system that replaced zeal for hard work and creativity with scramble for rents from petroleum resources, which thereby created colossal corruption, inequities and wastes, and consequent agitations in the forms of Boko Haram, assault, IPOB, MEND, NDA, etc., etc. A system that created inherently weak states with massive bureaucracies, and a system that fostered an import dependency syndrome instead of a homegrown, diversified economy was bound to fail, and it failed. But the question remains, what the succeeding civilian political class has done or is doing to reform that ineffective system. Despite two national conferences, one impaneled in 2005 by President Obasanjo, the last one in 2014 by President Jonathan, and endless attempts by the federal legislature to amend the 1999 Constitution, the answer remains doubtful. So go to the second part of the election, where we are since the 2015 general election. We will now fast track to the period leading to and since the last general election in 2015. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, which inherited power from the last military regime, had ruled for 16 years. That coalition of interests, had progressively come under internal stress, leading to many of its prominent members leaving to join an alternative coalition of interests in the All Progressives Alliance, APC. Life had become more difficult for most Nigerians. It was in this situation that the APC, under the mantra of change, prevailed and won the general election without dispute. In the process, the party's articulated propaganda machinery created undue impressions and expectations that change would be imminent and that prosperity would soon return. On the contrary, and we're all witnesses, it has been a slow grind since the present regime came into office, as it realized that the days of opposition politics were over, and the bulk of the challenge of governance rested with the party and its elected leadership. On the well-respected statesmen and personalities to raise their voices on the looming economic danger. On the 20th, he would consider, or he would become the opposition if the administration decided to run Nigeria aground. 2 days later, at a different forum in Kaduna, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, who by the way called me to apologize, he's in America, so he should have been here with us, said that the president has failed to combat economic challenges. On the 9th of August, Anthony Cardinal Okoji added his voice by writing an open letter to Mr. President saying that issued his half-yearly report, indicating the first time officially that the country had crossed the political divide for a review of the governance, called for a restructuring and a renewal of our federation to make it less centralized, less suffocating, less dictatorial in the affairs of our country, of our country's constituent units and localities. He added that, and I quote again, our current structure and the practices it has encouraged have been a major impediment to the economic and political development of our country. Today, in today's papers, Atiku Abubakar again has called for decentralization of governance in the country. Also, on September 17, just last month, the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Dahiru Mustafa, as the election was marked by demarcations along ethnic, regional, partisan, and religious lines. And he added that Nigerians, I quote again from him, Nigerians seemed as divided as ever. And he added, I'm deeply worried, the situation is grave. Justice Mustafa, retired Chief Justice. Against these foregoing views and positions, President Muhammadu Buhari has been quoted in the media as saying that the recommendations of the 2014 collective mismanagement by the previous administrations, this should be a good reason for Mr. President to be defensive, but rather to lead the country in scenarios. One option, retain the existing political and economic structure of 36 states, or even more states, because there's still demand for more states, and strive for more efficiency through internal reforms. This will reduce oligarchy. It is the same oligarchy that bequeathed us with the 1999 Constitution over the politics and governance of the country. The second option, the second scenario, would be to restructure the country on the basis of the 6 geopolitical zones as federating units, similar to the provisions of the Independence Constitution. Option. Third scenario is to break up the country, allow for secession as advocated by the separating movements. The members of IPOB and myself get it clear. Their argument is that the youths of southeastern origin, Ndi Igbo, are constitutionally marginalized. Vis-a-vis their counterparts from the rest of the country. They argue, therefore, that the country, in its present configuration, will perpetually relegate even the unborn Igbo children to second-class citizens in their own country. That's the argument. Therefore, they demand for a separate nation. MEND, NDA, Niger Delta, argue that the proceeds from petroleum, which emanates from the Niger Delta region, are controlled by a powerful group under the umbrella of the strong federal government to the disadvantage of their own indigenes. Abuja is built by petroleum. They're still drinking brackish water in the Niger Delta. Lagos, Atlantic City, they don't have land in the Niger Delta. That is their argument. They claim, consequently, that only a separate existence will guarantee control over their resources, over the resources from their area, and genuine development. We've got three scenarios, three possibilities. In life, there's a natural tendency for one to always seek to actualize the preferred scenario. So all these three, somebody must say, I prefer this or that, and I work for it. However, prudence and common sense demands that one ensures survival under the most likely scenarios at a given time. That is, Utus Naweda, we must survive. Scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3. Two broad questions immediately arise from Igbo. First one, taking account of the present and foreseeable realities in the country, what is the preferred scenario for Igbo? And are we working towards its realization? What is our choice? And are we trying to make it happen? But more importantly, the second question, what are the likely scenarios for Nigeria going forward? And are Igbo ready for survival under any eventuality? That's the basic question. Are we ready to survive under any eventuality? What? I have to ask that question. It is noteworthy also that this same position had been articulated by the Yorubas some 22 years earlier on. As reported by Mary Teniola in the Vanguard newspaper of the 28th of August, a meeting of all the Yoruba Obas, chiefs, and leaders of thought, and the entire people of Lagos, Ondo, which then included the present Ekiti state, Osun and Oyo states. They met on the 11th of May 1994 in Akuluo and approved by acclamation a memorandum signed by all the leaders in which they declared, and I quote, "We are convinced that the cause of Nigeria's federalism will be best and truly advanced if we return to the pre-1996 revolutionary path. A balanced federal structure which recognizes fully the legitimate claims of all ethnic groups for self-determination, and where no single entity amongst the federated units will be strong or powerful enough to hold the others to ransom." That's Yorubas, 22 years ago. So they're consistent. They know what they want, and they're asking for it. It is quite clear from the foregoing that Yoruba are unequivocal about their preference and have consistently canvassed it at every opportunity. Despite that, however, and listen to that, they have nevertheless been realistic to survive well under all regimes. Besides, they have achieved sufficient internal consistency within themselves to enable them to successfully exist as a sovereign entity, should that option become the order of the day. If you break up Nigeria today, the Yorubas are together. Are we together? Okay. They have concentrated their economic assets within their zones. They have concentrated their economic assets within their zone, whilst always maximizing the political space in Abuja. They stay within their zone and invest in their zone. The Igbo situation was, on the other hand, placed in stark context during the last general elections by my royal friend and my brother, His Majesty, Oba Rewanu Akuluo, CFR, Oba of Lagos, my friend, my brother, when he threatened to invoke the wrath of the gods of Lagos Lagoon on the Igbos resident in the domain. Unfortunately, a large part of Igbo exploded in anger over that statement, rather than try to contemplate its hidden meanings. Oba Akuluo was in effect telling Igbo in Lagos that they have become hostage to their own choices of concentrating their immovable assets in his domain. We made the decisions. We have become hostage to our own choices of concentrating our immovable assets in his domain. He was also implying that the constitution of the country could not, in reality, but in theory is one thing, but in reality, they could not guarantee Igbo the freedom to exercise their political rights without detriment to their economic and their commercial and economic interests, which had become captive. Paradoxically, he was actually doing Igbo a great favor by drawing attention once more to our self-imposed vulnerability. He was indirectly calling on Igbo, calling on us to urgently address our readiness to survive as a people under any circumstance. He was doing us a favor, but we didn't realize it. At this current political, economic, and social standing of Igbo in Nigeria, politically, we're the most dispersed ethnic group in the country. We arguably comprise second largest ethnic population next to the indigenous in literally all other states in the country. Go to Kano State, you go to Kano, Igbo are the next population. Go to Ogun State, you go to Ogun State, Igbo are the next in population. Individual business decisions, do they fit into a distinct philosophy, ideology? What is that philosophy? What is that ideology? What is that strategy? Now, for the socio-cultural consideration, an American social scientist, Joel, identity determines success in the new global economy. Ethnic groups that display the ability to hold groups that can keep common interests, even though they are all over the world. They are scattered all over the world, but the issue is the issue, right? Have also become successful global tribes, whilst as a potential global tribe, potential. All the attributes necessary for success in that regard. For instance, all the spread influence to the rest of the world. They emphasize community instead of self. It says we're hungry. Chinese don't take community instead of self, and they tend to produce business, education, religion, etc. The Igbo situation today is individualistic and competitive. It's both an advantage and a disadvantage. They own myriads, small and not be successful in cooperating to form large business combines. Our competitiveness starts within our own. We tend to think and act me, not we, and self, not grace, are constantly mired in controversy, even as Igbo, like organizations and the rest of the country put together. We form new organizations every day. Our traditional institution is equally confusing. Traditional tools prior to independence, Igbo now have 1/3 of all traditional rulers. Oh no, sorry. Igbo now has 1/3 of all traditional rulers in the country. There are over 1,000 of us. Anambra is 177. And Igbo with persons parading themselves as self-created, quote unquote, and maybe one at any that have been endowed by individuals. Say, Southeast, Ogunabia, and we are sleeping. Is that the Igbo nation currently manifests serious ambiguity to make decisions as a people. Rather, we are as ever driven by choices which for the Igbo nation share the Nigerian space with us, optimizing their group interests as their ultimate guarantee for it's okay. But if we fight for our own individual, maybe all of us will go down together. So now we're looking at the future. As this lecture, I have argued that the 1966 is no way about it. Of the message of the Oba of Lagos. Thirdly, in such a renegotiated arrangement from a position of strength, satisfactory outcome, whilst encouraging political parties to define and champion an Igbo fundamental agenda that transcends political partnership. Referring for the Yorubas. So, at the birthday party for Chief Fashion, who was PDP, all the Yorubas were there. APC same for Hanesi, for Ndigo. Economically, investments and assets homewards, so as to transform the Southeast as soon as possible into the economic power base to underpin their business interests all over the world. Fourthly, Ndi Igbo must in the meantime not fold their hands waiting for their preferred scenario for Nigeria to materialize, but must continue to strive for the best under prevailing circumstances and likely scenarios. So don't wait for restructuring. It might take 50 years, it might happen tomorrow. Whatever is happening today, people must survive. That's the message. My views on this point are well aligned with those expressed recently in an article in this day newspaper, 28th of August, by Yoruba man, Simon Kolawole, and I quote, they admonished Igbo, and I quote, the wise thing is to look within and to see how Igbo land can be far better than it currently is. The governors are in a good position to call on the best brains for the development of the Southeast, with or without Abuja. To start with, the Igbos have distinguished themselves all over the world in virtually every field of human endeavor: science, technology, creative industries, law, sports, commerce, education, journalism, medicine, etc. Therefore, he says, I don't believe anybody is doing Ndi Igbo any favor by giving them appointments. You talk about marginalization appointment. Ndi Jeleje under Jonathan, he says, I don't believe anybody is doing Ndi Igbo any favor by giving them appointments. But that is not the point. Who says that Aba cannot become Taiwan without leaving the Nigerian zone? You don't have to separate before you develop yourself. That Aba can become Taiwan even in Nigeria today. Who says that Nnewi cannot assemble 10 million mobile phones per year without confederation? It says no electricity. Oh, true, it has no electricity. But many parts of Lagos are powered by IPP, not by PHCN. It can be done. Billions of dollars are trying to be tapped in Igbo land. That's the Yoruba man telling us that. And I believe it. The recent visit by Mark Zuckerberg, a young man, founded Facebook when he was barely 20 years old, kicked off an online debate amongst Igbo intellectuals, spearheaded by a son of Anambra State, a son of Oka, that's also not where who is a key player in the information technology development in this country. The consensus from the debate was that whilst Igbo have globally accomplished persons in the field of information technology, such as Philip Emeagwali, Chinedu Echewo, has just sold his company to Apple for $1 billion. The company he developed just in brain, $1 billion just sold it. And he's developing new other ones. Only will go, but based in America. So, whilst Igbo have globally accomplished persons in the field, such as Philip Emeagwali, Chinedu Echewo, Bayoso Kibo Jr., Yaba in Lagos, not Ani, is emerging as the first genuine IT ecosystem hub in Nigeria, due to the foresight of the Lagos state government to invest to create the enabling environment many years ago. So Yaba is now the IT development hub for Nigeria. All the little companies, and they're all generating ideas, supporting themselves, and half of them will work and do. In that debate, another Igbo son, Chinenye Mbabuzo, cited two interesting examples, Israel and India, for our own study and our contemplation. On Israel, he quoted from a book, Startup Nations, the story of Israel's economic miracle, by two authors, which asked the trillion-dollar question, and quotes, how is it that Israel, a country of 7.1 million people, only 60 years old, surrounded by enemies, in constant state of war since its founding, with no natural resources, produce more startup companies than large, peaceful, and stable nations like Japan, China, India, Korea, Canada, and the UK? How can? Israel has done it. It's determination. On India, he quoted from another book, India Unbound, the social and economic revolution from independence to global information age, by Busharan Das, which said, and quote, India today is a vibrant free market democracy, a nation well on its way to overcoming decades of widespread poverty. The nation's rise is one of the great international stories of the late 20th century. So there are examples for us to see. You don't have to confederate, you don't have to separate. You have the market, exploit it. We must at this stage ask the question, how do Ndigo proceed into the future from their present fragile and worrying situation? And I suggest, first, we must admit in all honesty that we have not fared as well as we deserve from the Nigeria project so far. We placed too much trust and reliance, and we still do, on Nigeria, and received inadequate rewards. We have become hostage in other people's domains, and collective victims of our own individual choices. It is in this context that I should now revisit the lecture topic for today. We know that our ancestors considered wealth and prosperity in more than just material terms. Hence, they bequeathed us with such names as Nwaka, Nwaka-ego, Eziafa Ego, Obianju, Maduka. So material measure is not all of it. It's something beyond. My late father often admonished my siblings and I. He said, so the Igbo meaning of Ako and honor, therefore, transcend the strictly material and includes other dimensions as pedigree, reputation, social standing, happiness, contentment, family units, togetherness of the family, community, etc., etc. These are all dimensions of ACO. Thus, you should see a deeper and more sublime philosophical context to our subject, reflecting an elevated or lofty state of mind and attitude, which also encompasses the physical and material dimensions. Consequently, my own simplistic understanding of Akuluo is a clarion call on Igbo to evolve a philosophy, an ideology, strategy, and action plans for self-actualization through self-sufficiency and self-reliance and contentment under any circumstance. This brings to mind the opening stanza of my secondary school anthem. We had an anthem earlier on, our state anthem. Now we have my secondary school, the opening stanza. It says, remember where you come from, wherever you have a chance to go. Remember where you come from, wherever you have a chance to go. It's just here. We must start by re-establishing the core moral, social, and cultural values for Igbo, which to me are belief in God, only one God, self-reliance, hard work and meritocracy, communal well-being, transparency, contentment, justice, equity, common destiny, these are our founding ethos as Igbo. We must deploy our language and our history and our cultural norms and practices as cohesive and distinguishing factors, starting from the family settings at home to primary school levels and onwards. We urgently need an attitudinal change. We tend to be too loud. Igbo tend to be too loud, too boastful, too immodest, even in other people's domains. We must learn to respect the sensibilities of our host communities as much as we expect them to respect ours. Go to somebody's domain, respect them, respect their own feelings and sensibilities, and be part of the community. After all, this should be without prejudice to our own self-pride and dignity, which must be tempered with modesty. In this regard, another Igbo intellectual and public commentator, Sidon Adenoba, has drawn attention to Professor Joseph Nye's strategy of soft power, smart power. Can be modest, still find your way, which entails Igbo going on a charm offensive, as the Jews have successfully done in the United States. The Jews don't want to lead, but they lead. We need to balance our individual competitiveness with a collective, cooperative, communal spirit within and beyond our homeland in order to withstand outside threats. We must seek to widely provide excellent and functional education as a solid foundation for human development. This should emerge from effective tripartite dialogues and cooperation between government, the educational institutions, and the private sector in order to commercialize the numerous research findings and prototypes from our tertiary institutions. Our relative advantage in this sphere is fast receding, and must be urgently restored. Excellence, excellence, excellence. Efficiency, prosperity. The Lord. Food sufficiency is the foundation for sustainable development. This is an important first step towards self-reliance and contentment. Anambra on a world basis are natural settings for agro-allied businesses with emphasis on growing the value chain. You just don't grow, you can process and export processed food. Energy sufficiency is an absolute prerequisite for sustainable development, for sustainable industrial development. Anambra State arguably has the largest number of successful entrepreneurs, professionals, and managers. And we have one of them here with us. In the Nigerian upstream petroleum sector, in the oil industry, Nigeria, Anambra State arguably have the largest number of successful entrepreneurs, professionals, and managers in the upstream petroleum sector. Actors, Mekofo, NSOBGC, Juvijika, Mekupusa. You just name them on and on and on. They should come together and make Orient Petroleum a reality. Today, not tomorrow. Including the refining and allied industries and power generation. It is disheartening that out of desperation, the company may now be on the verge of ceding a large chunk of its equity to foreign interest. Where is our self-reliance if you are selling out of the foreign interest? We must create an enabling environment to attract Igbo and non-Igbo investments to the southeast. We must create a safe environment, a secure environment, infrastructure, enabling laws, including taxation. The civil service must be up and going. Land reforms and availability, communal and intercommunal peace. In this regard, we again sincerely applaud Governor Willie Obiano for the best security strategy in the country. And for setting up ANSIPA as a one-stop center for investment facilitation. ANSIPA's scope to meet the expectations of our investors and potential investors is limitless and should pursue the single-minded zeal. The Igwe Onitsha axis should be transformed into a bustling industrial hub, taking advantage of the Onitsha inland port, which should be made functional by dredging the River Niger for access by flat-bottom barges. So we have to take it over and do it by ourselves. We must grow prosperity at the lowest rungs of the society through small and medium scale enterprises, particularly amongst young graduates from tertiary institutions. The SMEs are the bedrock of the strong economies in the whole world, including America. American Economic Index always talk about business openings and business closures. It's the small businesses. That is what holds America. Again, Anambra State has made a very good start with the Anambra State Small Business Agency, ASBA. Clem, where are you? Mr. ASBA is there. And I have to publicly acknowledge that Clem, ASBA, has just approved loans for 70 of my indigenous young entrepreneurs in Onitsha to own their own lives going forward. Information and communication technology, ICT, is the driver of the 21st century world. The Lower Niger and the Anambra basins, river basins, they offer an ideal setting for development, for residential, recreational, and industrial complex based on technology. That is our own Silicon Valley. If you know what Silicon Valley is all about, that's what Igwe Alfred is trying to do over there. You just put dredgers and create the landmass and build the islands and get to work. We must encourage the emergence of a new breed of leaders in all fields, in politics, industry, business, education, that would lead with modesty and with humility and with a commitment to service and to the common good. The younger generation must rise fast to assume greater responsibility. The future is their own. I'm a Carigo, but now on the home journey. The young ones, Zuckerberg, the rest of them, the future is theirs. We have our own Zuckerbergs. We must encourage them to rise. I have not put these ideas forward as if nothing has been happening in Anambra State or Igbo. Indeed, the contrary is the case. A lot have been happening. We've talked about all the things that we have been able to do. In Anambra State, we are all witnesses to the laudable strategic initiatives of Governor Obi in most of the areas I've mentioned above, including the roles of ANSIBA and ASBA, etc. But what I'm saying, however, is that Anambra State and Igbo have limitless scope and wherewithal to achieve the same feats as Israel, India, China, and Malaysia. And we must get our house in order to do that as fast as possible. We must therefore press ahead on an agreed strategic and ideological trajectory, irrespective of the situations that are playing out in the world. On a final note, there still remains the task of determining that strategic and ideological umbrella for India, within which the various players can now balance their individual actions with their collective interests. But that is beyond the scope of this lecture. It must be the subject of further engagement. With great relief, however, I'm aware that the Indian are putting their thoughts together on this crucial issue. There are meetings that are scheduled to be taking place, some here, some in other places. But I urge utmost urgency on their part. Thereby, Your Excellencies, Your Majesties, Your Lordships, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long presentation, and I thank you all for your attention. And I wish you a happy celebration of Anambra 2025.
With all our hearts, we pray and ask, God bless Anambra, God bless the shining light that we bear. We're the only ones to make her brighter, the only ones to make her better, the only ones to make Anambra shine. With our sweat and blood, every breath of our lives, we've trust in God, we will lift our homeland high. We believe in togetherness, we'll build a land of progress. Lift the spirit of Anambra, lift the spirit of Anambra, lift the spirit of Anambra.